Hey guys, this is Black Woman 7 here, and today I'll be going over sort of like a weird video I want to do. I kind of want to like go over all the possible VGC 20 Pokemon that are viable and that have been shown off that could also be viable. Now keep in mind that this is very tentative. And of course, there could be new Pokemon that are shown off from the time of recording for this video. Hell, there could be a new trailer releasing. Oh my god, look guys, Landorus T is available. I mean, or Tapu Koko is around because that's your favorite Pokemon because you overuse them, right? Therefore, it's your favorite. I'm like, nah, okay, I'm just like kind of busting your balls, guys. Okay, so, anyways, we'll like we'll go over like all these the Pokemon that have revealed so far, and like all the the trailers shown. Thankfully, Cerebi. By the way, this is Cerebi's 20th anniversary, so I'm recording this video. So, give him a follow. He's a very great guy, going over all like the Pokemon news, trying to figure out whether it's like certain information is like true, be unbiased opinion from him. So very to him, since we're gonna be looking over the pretty much the Galar regional decks. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So right off the bat, one last thing I will mention is that very likely the next format's gonna be regional based, since historically VGC formats have been since Gen 5 has been following this. So in VGC 11 it was pretty much regional decks. So Unova decks for 150, or basically 150 Pokemon there in the Pokemon Black and White. And Gen 6 it was a VGC 14, which was the format which allowed Mega Evolutions, as well as I think like around like 450 plus Pokemon. So that's a lot of. That's probably the highest they allowed in the format. So of course there was still Pokemon, like there were still other Pokemon that were in the in XY that weren't available to be used in the VGC format. You have to figure out. You have to look at the listings. The national decks in that. Oh, not national decks, but the regional decks in that regard. And then now in VGC 17. It was like I think it was scaled back to 300 Pokemon. So, but back then it had like access to all like the Tapus and the Ultra Beasts. So now we have like pretty much. We don't know whether or not we're gonna have another set of legendary Pokemon similar to the Tapus or the Genies, but hopefully they're not too centralizing if you think about it. So, alright, without further ado, we'll just go right into it. So, we don't have any information about the starters aside their abilities, so we'll just skip right to them. Scorponite, probably talk a little bit more in depth about these guys in another video. But Corviknight depends on whether or not like mirror armor actually reflects Intimidate back, because if it could even reflect Intimidate back, it could have some usage. And if it's like very strongly, like kind of a Celesteela like Pokemon, but chances are not likely that this thing won't learn Sleep Seed. So I don't know, Celesteela was a kind of a bamboo thing. So Gossifleur and Eldegoss, it has access to regen, but I don't know whether or not these Pokemon will be viable, because there's a certain Pokemon on the list that will probably be annoying. So annoying, let's say grass, cotton Pokemon. So Bolu, I don't think we have information on this guy. Dreadnought, it has access to like G-Max move that could set up Stealth Rocks, so that might be very interesting. So, but outside of that, we don't know information. So, we have a Corgi, Hamper or Yamper. I don't know. Impidimp, they haven't revealed him yet, so we'll just skip over him. Roly-Poly, I don't know. Alcremie is. I think Alcremie might be very viable, especially with its G-Max move, with its Gigantamax form. The fact that you could just recover your Pokemon for like up to 3 turns basically like one overpowered Z. It's kind of having a Z fairy move plus healing up heal pulse. So that could be very, very, very powerful. But outside of that, I don't know. Dralagon. I don't even know if this thing is whether this is the Pseudo or whether this is just a standalone, like, you know, Dread again, but we'll wait and see. More Peko. I'm not so sure. I'll skip over it. Obscune. I think this thing will be a strong wall breaker in singles, but in doubles, historically, there hasn't been very strong, like, you know, wall breakers outside of, you know, dedicated Trick Room teams. You know, players like Gavin Michaels, you know, was able to, like, popularize Trick Room in VGC 17. So, if we see this guy, chances are it's gonna be like, you know, Trick Room based, so with like Flame Orb Guts. So Camarant, I'm not so sure. Both you guys have no information. Surfetch, like as I've talked about in the previous video, it has potential, but we just don't know whether or not it's gonna have like the right stat increases, stat changes. It might have a slightly high attack and low speed, you know, this thing getting a lot heavier, but we don't know. So, and Galarian, Ponytail, and Rattata, I'm not so sure where it can go, so we have no information about it outside of its stats from Ponytail. So that's about it. Charizard. Here's the thing about Charizard I'm gonna talk about. And this is probably for another video, but I'm just gonna allude to it. I think regular Charizard might be better than the Gigantamax one for only one reason, and that's the fact that it could actually set up Sun, because if you think about it, like, well, not Sun in a weird way, because if you're using a regular Dynamax Charizard and you use it with any fire move, the Dynamax Flamethrower will basically be like, it will just go for like pretty much a Z move like attack, and then it'll set up the Sun. So, and Charizard already has an ability called Solar Power, which increases its special attack even further. So, of course, this will mean chip damage for Charizard in general, but you have a move that could go through Protect. And with the Sun up, you're going to be able to like just hit and nuke things down. This is pretty much Charizard Y 2.0 if you think about it. So, the thing is, this is only for the Dynamax Charizard. Regular Gym Dynamax Charizard, I don't think it will have this, because I think it's like only this. I could be wrong, by the way. If Gigantamax Charizard does have that, can set up like, you know, the Sun, like while it attacks, instead of like, you know, going for that Fire Spin, then trapping, then yeah, like I think the other ones would be a little better. I think, don't get me wrong, I think the Gigantamax form might have its uses, but I don't know. So then there's Dynamax Butterfree. I'm not so sure whether this thing's gonna be viable. People are saying this is maybe the Mew Smeargle Dark Void, but it will be annoying with its Gigantamax form. But this thing will probably be the only like Rage Powder, Sleep Powder user in the format. So yeah, and also like those moves become like max moves during like when they're like, you know, big, you know, Dynamax or Gigantamax, so it won't be able to have access to that option. So or Rage Powder or like you know, Rage Powder or like Sleep. So I think also I think Butterfree also has access to Tailwind, so that's something to keep in mind. So Raichu, Fake Out, Encore. That's all you need to know. Pikachu, I'm not so sure whether that Gigantamax form is legal or not, but we have to wait and see. But this guy, just watch out for him. Fake Out, Encore, Shenanigans, and Volt Switch. So has access to Volt's tackle very likely once it's legal. So in the later format. So yeah, Clefable, good redirection Pokemon, has access to Wear, Magic Guard, something to keep an eye on. So good redirector and fairy type. So Ninetales obviously sets up the Sun for these guys, even though I don't know if these guys will be viable. So Vileplume does have some interesting options like Strength Stab. So, but then again, like fast weather setters are not as like, it's a fast weather setter. So if this thing and something like Tatar goes in first, the turn 1, then very likely T-Tar is gonna get up sand. So yeah, that's unfortunate. So I'm gonna just skip over Blossom because I don't know. I don't think people will use Blossom. Duck Trio, not so sure it will be viable. Well, I don't think we'll have access to Lone Persian, so that thing was pretty huge back then. Like, it'll be in the Parting Shot, Fake Out, and Foul Play stuff, but regular Persian, kind of meh. Okay, now, Arcanine. Okay, expect people to use Arcanine, like every team to have Arcanine. Basically how, like, everyone almost had Landorus in, like, VGC 18, or Coco, one of the two. And then everyone almost had, like, a Coco, like, or an Ultra Beast or something, or like usually have like a top move producing VGC like 17 and like VGC 15 like towards the end, like everyone had like almost like a chalk-like team. So just expect Arcanine's usage to be extremely high. The fact that it has access to Intimidate, Will-O-Wisp, it can roar stuff, has Helping Hand, Flare Blitz, E-Speed, Wild Charge for the water types, etc., etc. And it could Dynamax if you think about it, because it has access to Dynamax like fighting and fire coverage, so you could just increase your attack and set up the sun and you just hit very hard. So I just noticed the mosquito bit me. So I apologize for that. So same with Machamp. If you're able to Dynamax with this guy, like this thing's gonna have like Dynamax attack, like you're gonna be able to raise your attack of your partner as well, which is pretty huge because not only you're increasing like your attack set, but also your partners as well. So that's pretty strong. Gengar, Gengar is pretty strong as well. It's always been like a one of those you know, it's always been like kind of like chugging along in VGC, especially like in 15 and in 17, being able to like pressure the fairy types. And I'm not so sure if he'll have access to Icy Wind or Sludge Bomb, but I guarantee you that this thing will have some usage, being like a Focus Sash user and whatnot. So, okay, Steelix, I'm not so sure will be viable. Hitmontop will probably be just as high as Arcanine because, like, you know, Fake Out, Wide Guard, Quick Guard, Close Combat, and Feint. Like you could just like pretty much like go for like cover. You already have like, this is basically the utilitarian Pokemon of VGC, being able to do all those attacks at once. Of course, it loses Sucker Punch. I mean, we've already know that this thing doesn't have Sucker Punch for a long time. I don't know why I mentioned that. So it has access to Intimidate. So we'll see where it goes. Galarian Weezing. Now, I'm not so sure. I have a weird feeling about Galarian Weezing. Like for me, it's mixed. Either this thing's gonna be like really good, or it's just gonna be niche, because Weezing right now in the VGC isn't as strong in like the VGC format. But Galarian Weezing, the fact that it has that neutralizing gas could like help, like, or like sort of like have like sort of like, let's say you want to have an offensive team, like that could help that abuses, like, you know, like a Slaking. I don't know if Slaking is gonna be illegal. Very likely not. Galarian Weezing from Slaking just looks pretty dumb if you ask me. Twice banned and just keep hitting and hitting, but still, the fact that this thing, if you have this thing on the field, I feel like this thing is gonna be more of a hindrance in terms of team building. And I think people will have to find a use Pokemon that aren't reliant on their abilities for them to work. So yeah, that's all I have to say about this guy. Rhyperior, very strong. Always been one of the more like one of the better rock type Pokemon in the format, outside of maybe T-Tar, and with access to ground moves, like Earthquake, Drill Run, or Stone Edge, and I don't know if I'll have Superpower, but like that's about it. Like it has access to Lightning Rod, so at least you're able to redirect Electric type of moves. So that's gonna be very helpful in that regard. So, not so sure about like whether I could see this thing being like very like used on like more Trick Room based teams, or like Trick Room Hyper Offense in a way in doubles. So yeah, I don't know about these fish, these three. I don't know. Maybe Lightning Rod. You might see this guy a lot. Galarian or why am I saying Galarian? Like Gyarados might be probably the best Dynamax Pokemon in this format because not only does it have a way to set up for itself with Dragon Dance, but it also has a way to set up Rain with its Dynamax Waterfall or Liquidation if move tutors are allowed, but most likely it doesn't have Waterfall. So, and then not only that, you're pretty much setting up consistently. The only thing though is that with strong intimidators like Hitmontop and Arcanine, this thing might, and even itself, I don't know if this thing will be viable. So, and then you have Lapras, which is very good, like bulky, sturdy, pivot for water type Pokemon. It's always like seen as like an anti-meta pick, being able to like take down even like some stuff like Kyogre. I know like in the VGC 16, people use this to take on like Primal Kyogre, but outside of that, and not even 17 I've seen it used. Not 17, but like 14. That's about it. Most of the evolutions aren't as good. Maybe Vaporeon might see some usage because of the water absorb, being able to take down like some Dynamax water hits. Umbreon, we all saw this thing in Worlds and VGC 19 Worlds. Not being able to like, I know it was one that's it by the way, but okay, Sylveon. Oh, we are getting into some of the bigger ones. Sylveon. Sylveon depends. If it gets access to Hyper Voice, then this thing will be a major threat because this thing was already a major threat in like VGC 15. Even though it kind of died out because Mega Gardevoir users got like skyrocketed, but then Mega Kangaskhan came back. So yeah, but even then, like Sylveon having access to spread damage like Hyper Blaze, Moonblast for single target, maybe you're running like Helping Hand or Yawn or Calm Mind to boost its attack and special defense. Or yeah, I could see this thing being very very viable. But that's if it gets Hyper Voice. Even if it doesn't, well, I'm not so sure. But I think it'll be one of the better. Like it'll be one of the. It'll have to face like stiff competition with like Clefable and like Togekiss. So, okay, Snorlax. Okay, Snorlax, you guys gotta prepare for right now. This thing will have access to Curse Recycle, and unless Game Freak nerfs the 50% berries, this thing will probably be the face of the meta for like the next 9 months. So, if not the rest of the format. So, prep for this thing. I mean, I like literally abused the hell out of this in VGC 17, and like and a lot in 18. I remember that. Yeah, I was running that weird like Cresselia Snorlax team, which it was like a Trick Room Cresselia with Ally Switch and with Belly Drum Snorlax. I was like this one time I like literally like borrowed, or basically it was a like 6-0, but like I borrowed this one team that just the guy pretty much rage quit like because I just killed like 3 Pokemon just because of that. So even then, like that's a little anecdote aside. This thing having access to return to like powerful stats like Return, Double Edge, Facade, like, and then you have high horsepower or like File Charge or Crunch. Like I expect this thing to be very very viable. Like Snorlax will probably like. I know I'm sounding like what's his face, but like we've seen that Gluttony 50% berries, Gluttony Recycle. Oh yeah, by the way, fun fact, as I noted on the Wolfie's channel, this thing, the only way you get Recycle is from this guy now, assuming that move tutors are gone. So this thing learns it via like learn up, like via heart scale or whatever the relearner, the currency for the relearner is, or whatever. I don't know if heart skills have been cut out, so hopefully not. I hope heart skills are back. So yeah. Oh man, we just have to. Okay, we have to pick up the picks right now. So, Noctowl. I don't think Noctowl Hoodoo are gonna be viable. These guys, it could be, but I don't see any major electric types. All right, Togekiss. This thing wasn't as used a lot in 18, but it was used a lot more in 15 and 16. Like like more so with like Power of Punch, Mega Kangaskhan, and later on with Mega Rayquaza. Pretty much Follow Me. He has access to very good support options like Follow Me, Encore, Thunder Wave, and of course Air Slash. So if you want to flinch down opponents, and the fact that that's a viable option is really good. It has access to Dazzling Gleam as well. If you feel the need to like hit the opponent with the like stab fairy coverage. But outside of that, I think Follow Me redirection is gonna be good on Togekiss, so I expect this guy to be paired up with like maybe something like Snorlax, so yeah. Then you have Quagsire. It's usually a good Pokemon in singles, but VGC it's very difficult to use this guy because it gets pressured down. Zero Wall Fit. Quillfish, we might see Quillfish be viable because it has access to Intimidate. But yeah. Then you have Mammothline and Weavile. So let me just talk about Weavile first. Weavile has kind of been a hit or miss in VGC. It's been more so usable in like the restricted formats, but outside of that, we usually see it with beat up. But then even then, it's like beat up Terrakion, and I don't think Terrakion's gonna be viable, or not viable, or allowed in this format because of the Dex issues. So as for Mammothline, I think this guy will be very strong, especially with like Dynamax, Earthquake, which basically is gonna be the new Z-Tech Rage. Gotta watch out for that, and also the Dynamax Ice move as well. So, and also Scarf Rock Slide. So I don't know about Mantine, so it's probably like a good White Guard user. I think it has access to Tailwind. That's about it. Alright, T-Tar has always been pretty good ever since it's been in VGC. Like, it's always been one of the more staple Pokemon in VGC. Like, having access to Strong Punch, Stone Edge, Rock Slide, Earthquake. I know people ran Fling, Iron Ball back in the early format of like Gen 5. Like VGC 12, 13. I don't know why people ran that, but outside of getting that strong Fling hit. But of course T-Tar has access to Sand, so unless Escudero is confirmed, like I think T-Tar is gonna have a rough time this time around. Because there's actually another ground sand user that could abuse this. So now Rain, oh god, these two are loud. All I'm just gonna say is that there's gonna be a time in the metagame where Ludicolo and Pelipper are just gonna dominate, and then I think it's gonna be early meta, but just for a while. So, but just expect Pelipper and Ludicolo to be like useful early on. So yeah, Gardevoir, Gallade. Okay, Gallade I don't think is gonna be as viable. Because you'll normally want bulky fighting types that are like that could take a hit, like something like Cantelder or Hariyama. So, but Gardevoir, I think we've seen Gardevoir used like in VGC 14, being a Scarfer, and even a Spexmon at times, having that 125 special attack, and it also has access to Telepathy, so you could and Trace. So both of those two are good abilities. Telepathy allows you to just Earthquake, like with no fear, while Trace, you can trace possible Intimidates, even competitive. So yeah, something to watch out for. Of course, it won't have access to its Mega, but it will have access to new Dynamax moves. So yeah. Unfortunately, these two got all these guys got nerfed. They can't use their Mega evolutions, so RIP. Roserade, I guess this thing being viable, but I'm not so sure. Because Spikes hasn't been really traditionally strong in VGC. Even then, I'm not so sure. So, but we'll see. It does have access to Leaf Storm, Technician boosted hidden powers, and Weather Ball, more specifically Weather Ball. You know what? I'll take that back. Maybe Roserade, we might see some usage after all. So, then we have access to Flygon. Yeah, RIP Flygon. Unless you get a Dynamax form or Gigantamax form, wink wink. I don't know. So then we have Faydal. Move on. Milotic. Yeah, this thing's gonna be very viable. The fact that it has access to competitive, which raises its special attack to +2, sort of like how Bisharp gets to +1 with the Defiant. So, so basically, I think Milo is gonna be probably the premier bulky water type, similar to how like Tapu Fini has been for the past like 3 formats now. Like Tapu Fini has been like probably one of the better like you know sturdier water types since VGC 17. So on Milo has always been around here and there, and of course its most famous like placement was when like Wolfie like used it back. I think he used it in 15 and in the 18 as well. Um, so he used like Milotic with the competitive. So I think it was with a Rangaberry, I believe, the first time, and then the second time was a Bulky Berry. So of course you could have access to Scald, Ice Beam, maybe Icy Wind. I'm not so sure, and Recover. So yeah. And then you have Dusclops, which I think will probably be the better like Trick Room option. Better. I'm not so sure. It is sturdy, but then again, like maybe like because of its lack of offensive presence, like even with Dusknoir, it's gonna be like very, I don't know. So I'm not so sure about Glalie, Froslass, Vespiquen. Moving ahead, Gastrodon. Gastrodon. I don't know whether or not Gastro's gonna be like good. Depends on whether or not weather's gonna be strong. But even then, like Ludicolo just beats this guy. So Drifloon. We've seen Drifloon used a lot in VGC 17 and a little bit in 18. But I don't know whether Drifloon is gonna be like without the terrain seeds. I think this thing's gonna take the back seat. So Bronzong, pretty strong Trick Room setter. If there's no other setters outside of maybe Mimikyu, then yeah, I could see this thing being the go-to Trick Room mod. Lucario, Scarf, Final Gambit, Shenanigans. So yeah, Hippowdon, strong singles Pokemon, but very weak doubles Pokemon. It has access to Sand. It has a good attack stat, but outside of that, it's kind of meh. Toxicroak, pretty viable option for weather or against weather, but the problem is you're facing off against Pelipper and not something like a Kyogre. You know, like in VGC 19. So yeah, I'm not so sure whether these things are viable. So especially with like Psychic and Fairies, and well, it could take on Fairies, but it won't be able to take on Psychic types, and it's gonna be weak to ground. So yeah. Then you have a Bulma Snow. I think it'll probably be an anti-meta pick for weather, but outside of that, I'm not so sure. So Rotom, more specifically Rotom Wash, Rotom Mo, Rotom Heat, and Rotom like yeah, I mentioned Rotom Mo, that's cut. And the Rotom like Fan and Rotom Frost. They're all gonna be viable, more specifically Wash and Heat. Those two in particular I think will be the most viable forms. And it will have some usage, especially if they have access to Ally Switch. So yeah. Lightbird, Bass Anderson's favorite Pokemon. I'm not so sure. I mean, it could be like a very good like prankster setter, like you know with Encore, Fake Out, like Favre, but we'll have to wait and see whether these guys have that foul. I wonder if foul play is like something that burns naturally. So yeah, these guys I don't know. Gigalith I think will probably be the better I think Gigalith will actually be the better sand setter this generation. Even though it sounds weird saying that, but the fact that it has a very slow speed set of like I think 25 base speed. I know, like that's slow, but not only does it have like a very strong like defense stat and attack stat, but it has that special defense raise. So you have a guy that could actually set up the sand or opposing weather, so that's gonna be pretty good. And also it can take on like Pelipper and even T-Tar, so Wobbat, I don't know. Conkeldurr, Conkeldurr was very powerful and back in VGC I believe VGC like 13, and it had some use in 14, and also it had its major boost in 15, but then again like fairy types like pretty much hindered it down. I think this guy was pretty much used like early, like kind of in the middle of the format, more like kind of an anti-Kang counter, like in a sense, but then died off because people were able to use Mungus and redirect that away to Cresselia and Landorus. Just yeah. But even then, like, I think Conkeldurr will have a very easier time. It might actually be one of the more premier, like, Dynamax Pokemon, because being able to increase your attack might be, like, very viable as well, so. Size and Toad, I'm not so sure. These guys, having a strong, fast fighting type be very strong, especially with Sock. But I'm not so sure. Sock or Whimsicott. This is probably gonna be the premier like weather setter or like the tailwind setter slash Encore abuser guy. um, this thing having access to Moonblast plus like all these other utility options is gonna make it'll probably pull out all your hair. So has access to Moonblast, Encore, Tailwind, Protect, Beach Seeds, Sunspore. So yeah, expect Whimsicott to be like just as annoying as it was in any other format. So Digalith and Rakdos, I don't know. There might be viable, there might not be. I don't think Maractus will be viable. Digalith, I don't think so. Garbodor, garbage. You know, just run a Rocky Helmet. Or just make sure you have the King's Rock, you're good. Okay, so now here's some of the good Psychic type Pokemon. So, Rhinoculus and Gothitelle. Probably version exclusives, but yeah. I think Gothitelle will probably be the more useful of the two. Because it has access to both Shadow Tag and Competitive. Shadow Tag was pretty much a very powerful ability. Being able to trap your opponent, have access to heal pulls, being able to recover your Pokemon HP, so that's and trap the opposing team. But being also able to set up Trick Room, so I expect Gothitelle to be very viable. Rhinoculus, actually I think Rhinoculus might have a very better time here in this format than any other, because it'll probably be able to set up Calm Minds and like, and if you get Dynamax like your attacks, then you could utilize Dynamax like Focus Blast or Psychic, and I believe Psychic actually increases your special attack stat, which is insane. So that's one thing that could be pretty much scary. Let me see if that's true though. Max moves. Let's see. Let's see, but I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. This guy could also set up Hail as well, Vanilluxe. I'm not so sure it will be as viable. So, outside of like those fast Hail teams. So yeah, this Cavalier will probably be the premier like Trick Room like setter or abuser. Outside of maybe Conkeldurr. So yeah, Jellicent. All I'm just gonna say is expect a certain guy using Water Spout. Yeah, I'm calling you out. Just expect people to use Water Spout. But on a more serious sense, like Jellicent actually has a good place in this format if it, like, as an anti-weather check. If you think about it, as Water Absorb, Cursed Body, it could be able to be like, very annoying for those Pokemon to take on. So, especially with Cursed Body. So, anyways, we'll just move on. Gelb Angela, I don't know if this thing would be viable. Maybe if berries are legal, or used a lot. But yeah, Ferrothorn. Outside of Arcanine and maybe Chandeleur, as we see in below and below, I think Ferrothorn will have like a mixed time in this format. It has access to Leech Seed. It'll probably be the new Celesteela, being able to Leech Seed stall certain Pokemon. But outside of that, I'm not so sure. It has a lot of usage in the 16, 19, and a little bit in 15, but that's about it. So its usage has been here and there. So yeah, Chandeleur. I'm not so sure if Chandeleur will be viable. It does have access to a very powerful special attack stat of 145, I believe. But outside of that, I'm not so sure. So, Haxorus could be very strong, but we'll have to wait and see. It could just like outside of the other dragons, as we'll see. It does have a faster speed stat, but it's probably the fastest dragon reveal so far. So it has actually some Mold Breaker and a Nerve. So maybe we won't see that. After all, Braviary. I think Braviary will have a lot of usage depending on whether or not like terrains are legal. Terrain seeds are legal. And with Defiant, you're able to set up Tailwind and get a Defiant boost if your abuse like the get Intimidate raises. So yeah, that could be very useful. Mandibuzz could actually. Mandibuzz is almost like the Evolved Worlds in like VGC 17. It's always been used with the terrains. It actually had it pretty much had like probably was improved like it pretty much like got like all it needed was that, and that's about it. With its ability overcoat, it could actually avoid any powder slash rage powder, so it can avoid sleep. So you have access to Foul Play, Snarl, Roost, Tailwind. So it's another Tailwind setter if you guys want to abuse that. So Hydraigon, very strong Dark type in general. I think Dark types like Hydraigon, T-Tar will face a lot of competition for each other, but this is probably one of the very few Dragon types that are like around. So I think Hydreigon would probably be the premier Dragon type though. But that's about it. So being able to like one thing I'll notice, I think like max special like okay, any like max moves based off dark moves will lower Pokemon's special defense. So that could be pretty devastating if you ask me. So yeah. So that's something you're gonna want to like watch out for. So then we have Diggersby. Like traditionally, like Pokemon that just go for single target moves haven't been very viable, but that's about it. So, that's about it. So, but I have seen this guy used here and there. So yeah. Then we have access to, I believe, well, let me just look through this list. Pangoro, Parting Shot, but that's about it. Let me. All right, so I'm just reading something. Excuse me. So, Meowstic. I'm not so sure about whether or not like Meowstic is I know it has access to Prankster and it can set up screens and it has Fake Out, but that's about it really, for the male form at least. Even then, like I'm not so sure whether or not like Meowstic will have like a very good like time compared to other psychic types like Gothitelle, Venucleus, and Gardevoir. So yeah. Like even then, like I'm not so sure. So Aegislash, okay, Aegislash I think will have a better time. I think Aegislash will return as one of the premier like steel types in the format, being having access to like ghost moves, like ghost moves in general, steel and just typing in general is just very strong. Having access to White Guard and whatnot, it'll be on pretty much the staple on more defensive teams. So yeah, expected to be viable. I don't know about Slurpuff, it's gonna be bad if you ask me. So Malamar, it's kind of bad. Outside of Contrary, you could abuse like Intimidate as well. Eolisk hasn't been as viable in a while. Alucha will probably get like its peg turned down because if you can't use Terrain Seeds. Gudra, I think Gudra is gonna be like lose out as the premier dragon. Spot to Hydraigon and Kamalo, so I don't know about Treadman. It could set up Trick Room though, but that's about it. Same with Gourgeist, but I'm not so sure. But like Avila could set it like it's a pretty bulky Pokemon, but you know has a little special defense stat. So like Noivern, it's very fast, but it's not as like it doesn't hit as hard. So yeah, Vikable, we might see Vikable return, being able to like be more of an anti-meta pick, like being able to take on like the weather setters, like you know like Pelipper, like T-Tar, like those mons, but that's about it. Rabombi, I'm not so sure if they'll be like viable, like because I think bug types in general are gonna be shafted a bit. So, Toxapex, I think Toxapex might actually have some use now that Tapu Fini isn't around. But that's about. But even then, like historically speaking, like usually like Toxapex Pokemon like Toxapex or you know more defensive Pokemon in general haven't been as viable lately. So yeah. Mudsdale, I'm not so sure. Like ground Pokemon like Rhyperior will be like used over this guy. So yeah. Genetic doesn't have Rage Powder, so yeah. Beware, I think Beware would be very interesting as a counter to like Snorlax. As weird as it sounds, because it does take like Fluffy, or it does take like it could take on like Snorlax, especially the Belgium ones with Fluffy. So it just needs like HP and some defense investment, but that's about it. Serena, they had some VGC 19 usage, especially with like Scarf Kyogre teams. Yeah, so I kind of expect this thing to be paired up with Dynamax Pokemon in general, and being able to have deals helping hand boosted hits. Well, they can protect him from priority. So Golisopod, I haven't seen this thing being as viable in VGC in a while. Same with Turtonator. Togedemaru, we might see Togedemaru a lot more often as a like very good bulky fake out slash user. It has access to Zip Zap, which is pretty much flinching. It causes flinching, and it has access to Encore, as well as U-turn. So I think this guy will have some usage. Mimikyu will probably be the premier like Trick Room setter because it has access to Disguise, and it's also Ghost and Fairy type, so it's already immune to like 3 typings and Fighting, Dragon, and Normal. That's already huge as well. So I expect Mimikyu to probably, even though I'm kind of briefly touching on it, I think Mimikyu will probably be one of the top 10 Pokemon in the format. So, like Drampa, like it has access to Cloud9, and I know like I don't know if it was the same guy to use that one team. I think it was him. Like I don't know if like people used Drampa in VG17 early on. It was pretty much used like as like a way to stop her, as like a way to like stop weather. So with its Cloud9 ability, and it has access to that very high special attack, and so yeah. Delmice, I'm not so sure. Pretty much could be viable in Trick Room, but and then like Kamo, I think Kamo has like a very weird one case because it has Dynamax moves that could like set up for itself. But on the other hand, there's a lot of fairy types now, like Togekiss, Gardevoir, Sylveon, Clefable, which will be hunting it down. So yeah. Anyways, that's pretty much my rundown of the VGC Pokemon, or the Galar Dex so far, as of the 22nd of October. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll try to like cover more VGC like once we know like the full Galar Dex, I'll just let you guys know like what are some things to watch out for in general. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time.